Okay, I'm gonna test out this new angle. You guys look at my bookshelf over here. Ooh. Okay. Fault in Our Stars by John Green. Okay, so I don't like this book. I love this book. There's so much I want to say about this. I actually read this book in 4 days, but that's because I'm a slow reader. You could really just finish this in one sitting. I think it's like not possible not to finish this in one sitting. And I read it in 4 days right before, because a friend of mine invited me to go see the movie for $1 at our local university. So I just challenged myself to read it before I went to see the movie. So that's why I finally read this book. How shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Okay, so now I'm like quoting Shakespeare, which is actually very appropriate for this book because it's just the title, The Fault in Our Stars, is a line from Shakespeare. And there are so many literary references he uses in here that I just like, get excited about. They're just really cool. So, I'm going to be reading this book over and over again the way Hazel reads An Imperial Affliction. It turns out that book is not even a real book. That's like a fictional book that she just loves to read and is obsessed about, like the way I'm obsessed with The Fault in Our Stars right now. And she's obsessed with this book partly because it just kind of ends in the middle of the sentence. Well, it's about a girl named Anna who has cancer like she does, so she understands why it ends in the middle of the sentence, but she really wants to find out from the author, like, what happens to all these characters after. And that's how I feel about Hazel, well, not about Augustus, because Gus, we already knows what happens to him at the end of the book, but like Isaac and Monica, like what happens to all these people and her parents especially, like what happens way into the future when she's gone and her mom doesn't have something to do anymore. Okay, and here's another cool literary reference. Now I don't know if he did this on purpose or anything, but Franz Kafka, The Castle, as you see, I read this book a while back, but anyway, this book also ends in the middle of the sentence. And that's what I thought of when Anna was talking about An Imperial Affliction. I don't know if he did that on purpose, but that's what I thought of. And Franz Kafka actually ends The Castle in the middle of the sentence because he dies. So I was like, oh, that's so cool. Well, not cool that he died, but so cool that there's kind of like the same thing that happens with An Imperial Affliction. So anyway, so yay. And I love Kafka. That's kind of weird because he's kind of a strange writer, but yeah, so that was really cool. And then he also has a poem called The Red Wheelbarrow by William Carlos Williams, which I studied in school, so that was really exciting to see in there, and that's like one of my favorite poems. So that's in the book as well. John Green also references Walt Whitman in here too, and Walt Whitman's also one of my favorite poets. And I think that part was from when she was kind of like face down on the grass and just like struggling with giving away her swing set. I'm not 100% sure that that was that part. But yeah, so it was still a really cool reference, and she felt like she could see the blades of grass like clearly, just the way Whitman describes in his poems. So I thought it was cool. One thing that I thought was pretty neat was Price of Dawn. Yeah, like the video game that Hazel and Gus were kind of like familiarizing themselves with, and the fact that there's like these book series that go along with the video game. Like John first like introduced me to the idea that there are books published about like the video games. Now I'm actually not sure if those books exist, but that's really cool because I don't play video games really, but I think it would be really cool to pick up one of those books and to kind of like pretend that like you're in the game and it's a story about the game. So anyway, that was really cool. And like the other really cool thing I liked about it was the Swedish rap. Like, I don't know. I think like when I was watching the movie, everybody else was kind of getting into it, but then I was just the one that was kind of laughing inside because it just, I've never heard Swedish rap before, but it was kind of neat to have that portrayed on the big screen. So that was really cool. I just got a kick out of it. And then, let's see. And oh, and I really liked the character Caitlin. I kind of like this idea of this 25-year-old British girl stuck inside of a 16-year-old American girl's body. Like, I just really like that idea. And she was one of Hazel's closest girlfriends who she could still kind of talk to. So I was kind of sad that she wasn't in the movie. But yeah, there were still a couple things that annoyed me a little bit. I didn't like so much the parts where John would write in all caps, emphasize that, you know, they were shouting or, you know, getting really emotional at this part. Because the all caps kind of like, it was just kind of childish, and but I think it like stuck to the fact that they were teenagers, so that made that appropriate. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of writing in all caps to express, you know, how you feel in a book. And the other thing was, oh, the author, Peter Van Houten, or Houten. I know I totally just butchered that Dutch name, but he's supposed to be the author of An Imperial Affliction. And when Hazel and Gus go to visit him in Amsterdam, he turns out to be this like big disappointment because he's basically a drunkard and like ungrateful. And his assistant Ladewig is the one that actually like contacts them and says, "Hey, you should come here to like talk to the author and visit us and find out what happened." I just found it really frustrating that that author turned out to be this really mean, cranky guy who didn't give her any answers that she wanted. And then at the end of the book, he basically stays the same. Usually characters like change by the end of the book, but I was just frustrated that he just kind of stayed the same old cranky, cantankerous guy. But at least he left one last letter from Gus to Hazel that she was able to read, and it just kind of summed up the book perfectly. So other than that, I pretty much just love the book, and I love it better than the movie too. I thought the movie didn't really do it justice, but that's just me. Let me know. I don't know. What do you guys think? Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in my next video.